Welcome back to Briggs on Books. We've been talking to authors today from all over the world, hearing their experiences, how they came up with their books, and more importantly, how they got them out and published. So many of our viewers are just right on the precipice of getting there, and so we love to talk to authors who've actually done it. And I want to say congratulations to our next author, Stephen Decknick, who has not only done it once, he's done it like 3 or 4 times. Is that right, Steve?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Now, you are a Christian author.
Yes.
What does that mean? There's a theme, a message in your books?
A little of everything. So what I try to wrap into that is I'm definitely not having characters spewing profanity throughout the books. You won't find any 50 Shades of Grey sex scenes going on. It's all the types of stories that you can share with your family and friends and not be embarrassed. Oh my gosh, they read that book that I told them about?
Yeah. By the way, I'm going to put up the cover of your most recent book. Tell us the title.
The Rise of NASTAU. NASTAU is a supercomputer, an AI that is battling here. In this case, Leroy, the main character, he's a novice investigator, and he's suddenly thrown into this situation where he's being accused of killing a kingpin of a galactic organization. He's out in the Rigel solar system.
Okay.
So now he has to prove his innocence while also battling this artificial intelligence. It's kind of like, and along the way he's finding out centaurs have been kidnapped and people are being turned to stone. I describe it to people as it's the creatures of Narnia on an episode of Star Trek meeting up with Hal from 2001, A Space Odyssey.
Speaking of centaurs, here's another cover of yours that deals with the centaur.
Yeah, In the Eye of the Centaur was the first book in this series featuring Terra the Dryad. That one also includes an ice-breathing dragon, by the way, so that's a lot of fun. That one was more marketed for the young adult segment, and it was designed to be Terra as a seeker of the truth. She eventually ends up on Earth, like by accident, and finds a Holy Bible and transmits it back to her home planet because it's something they don't have there.
What a great story. What a great story. That was my next question. Now, are there 2 books in the series so far?
Yeah, so far I've got 2, The Rise of NASTAU being the second book. I've designed it to be a standalone sequel, so you could pick up this book, read it cover to cover, and still understand the story. However, the first book would give you some more background on who these characters are and how they play.
Right.
And then in this book you're seeing Leroy as the primary character, who was a secondary character in the first book.
Yeah, I started to say that was my next question is who would read these books? Who should read them, or who would like to read them?
Well, again, I look at these as fun, fictional adventure books, things where you can just wrap your mind into being on another world with a bunch of other people and experience what they're going through. I try to write in think of classic authors, Jules Verne, Charles Dickens, people who can write stories that are just fun to read and enjoyable to see who these characters are without having all that other stuff in there.
Yeah. And it sounds a little fantasy, a little science fiction.
Yes, I blend science fiction with fantasy. It's something I have seen repeatedly that people said they wanted to see in books, so I've done that. We have this all taking place out in the Orion solar system. The Orion constellation is where all of this takes place. And nicely enough, in the back of The Rise of NASTAU, I give you a star chart so you can see where all these different places are. There's also an appendix that describes all the different things you're reading about.
And this is a real star chart?
Yes, it is actually a star chart of the Orion constellation, but of course I have the planets that I've created that are there. I mean, who knows? Maybe they are there, right?
Yeah. Speaking of fantasy books, I'm always amazed how everybody loves a dragon, and you have one.
Yes. Yes, I've got an ice-breathing dragon appears in both books, and sometimes comes to the rescue. Sometimes, looks a little scary.
Now, by the way, I have a couple copies of some other books you wrote, 101 Uses for a Dead Elf.
Yes. So end of last year, I wrote a book called 101 Uses for a Dead Elf. You know how it is, Mike. You've got all these dead elves laying around the house. You don't know what to do with them, right? So I came up with this list for you. Describe the different types of dead elves for you, as well as there's some stories about the elves themselves.
Nice.
So that was fun to do. That was actually based on, you might remember a bookstore chain called Walden Books.
Yes.
From a long time ago, right?
That's right.
You and I were old enough to remember those. Walden Books had done a contest where they said, hey, let's develop book titles that you want to see. Mm-hmm. And that was one of them. That was actually an award-winning entry. So
nice.
Nobody made it yet, so here it is.
By the way, I think I have one more book. It looks like a nonfiction book, Making Health Insurance Affordable.
Yes, this is my first nonfiction entry. There is no dragon in this one.
No dragons.
There's no fantasy creatures in this one. So this is a very brief concept of how maybe states could be working independently of the federal government to help make health insurance more affordable, not only for individuals, but also for businesses too, and give them more options. You know, from working in state government, nothing happens overnight.
Nope.
And nothing major is going to happen. It's going to be little incremental steps, and that's what I've developed there in that book.
Sometimes the best help for people in elective office like I was is when somebody has an idea, and this sounds like an idea worthy of being looked at. I think some states, maybe even California, is trying to maybe do something themselves.
Yeah. I could picture that happening. A lot of states are trying very hard to bring down health costs and try to get more people insured. And part of that, too, is people want choices.
Yep.
So I've built that into the plan as well. It's not every living thing that you could ask for, and all you have to do is submit the bill to Congress.
Yep.
It's not that good. It's just an outline of ideas.
Yeah. Well, I am nerdy enough to want to read that book, so I probably will. Out of all your great books,
Right.
Let's go back to this first one again. NASTAU.
Yep, The Rise of NASTAU. So, like I said, it's a second in the series. Great cover art by @German Creative on Fiverr.
Beautiful cover art.
My editor is Amy E. Tucker. She also edited the first book for me. Has a lot of good features in it. There's a human named Caroline. She's actually inspired by a disability advocate, Tara Shetterly. So we see how the disability plays into the story as well, especially being on a planet in the Orion solar system where they've never seen a disabled person before. So it's kind of
amazing look at that.
in there.
Now, I know we're way past time. I'm getting the signal, but I just want to ask, we have your web address on the screen. What would somebody find there? What would our viewers find if they went to your web address?
Yeah, if they go to tarathedryad.weebly.com, you'll see my current projects, about me. I've also included some artwork, and I have some blog posts there, occasional blog posts. Everything from silly song lyrics I post there to things like how I think the Israelis and the Palestinians could work together for a lasting peace.
Okay. One book solving the healthcare crisis, another solving the Middle East crisis. I want to look for that book. I'll go read the article on your website. How's that?
That'd be great. Yeah. Thank you.
Stephen Decknick, any last thoughts for our viewers?
Yeah, my last thought for our viewers would be, really, if it wasn't for you, Mike, nobody would even know I'm here, okay? So I need other viewers to go out and buy The Rise of NASTAU, read it, write a fair and balanced review on Amazon and Goodreads. Listen, I'm a big boy. If you don't like my book, that's fine. Don't just put 1 star.
Yeah.
Tell me what you liked about it and what you didn't like. By getting the word out there, that's the best marketing I can have.
That's great. Stephen Decknick, sorry I stumbled over your name.
It's fine, Mike.
Author of The Rise of NASTAU.
Yes.
You put an accent on the first. Anyway, thank you, Steve. Thanks for being on. You're a fascinating guy. I enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you for having me here, Mike. I very much appreciate it, and I look forward to doing this again sometime.
All right, we will. We'll be back with more authors right after this.